So the PAC and PAAC are two parliamentary committees that watch over the country's wallet to protect the budget and keep it in check. And you can get involved. Just visit jampja.org.
Speeding kills. Obey the speed limit. A message from the Road Safety Unit in the Ministry of Transport and Mining.
No more guarantors for student loan. Your government cares about your education, and we don't want you to ever have to worry about going to university. The Students' Loan Bureau has a loan for you so you can focus on your future.
A new story is being written for all Jamaicans. The Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation is on a mission to transform lives. From increasing access to potable water, to providing secure homes for the most vulnerable, and helping you own a piece of the rock. We're revitalizing communities and preserving our environment. We're making an impact. See the difference. Feel the difference. Building a better Jamaica for you and me.
You can feel it. Make JC.
Zoom in on the nutrition facts. It there in the table on the side or the back. If you check out the servings, just do the maths. Not taking too much, finger below the facts. Zoom in on the nutrition facts. It there in the table on the side or the back. Take note of the sodium, the sugars and the fats. 5% or less in the on the right track. You for zoom in on the nutrition facts. It there in the table on the side or the back. Vitamins, minerals and vitamin 2, 20% and more that good for you. You for zoom in. Check the nutrition facts. You for zoom in. Check the nutrition facts. You for zoom in. Check the nutrition facts. Less sugar, less salt intake and less fat. You for zoom in.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Jamaica Moves, the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, the National Health Fund, and Japan.
Me, I go show them my way of justice.
I'm abused.
I need legal advice. I don't deserve this.
The truth of the matter is, justice there for all of we. The Ministry of Justice has trained more than 5,600 persons in restorative justice practices. More than 200,000 victims have been supported by the victim services. Legal aid has reached thousands island-wide. Make we talk it out, not fight it out. Call 888 Justice today. Motorists, as Minister of Justice, I appeal to you. Obey the road code, pay your ticket on time, and only go to court if the ticket is being contested. Close to 80% of matters coming to the parish courts are for traffic breaches. Let's work together to make our roads safe and ease the burden on our courts.
Each year, the Jamaican Parliament approves billions in tax dollars to buy goods and services for Jamaicans. Awarding contracts to private companies to provide public goods and services is called public procurement, and it is a major hotspot for corruption. Can citizens spot the red flags in public procurement and help the government protect our taxes? Yes, they can, and here are 6 to watch for. Direct contracting. When contracts are frequently awarded to one supplier without other companies competing to offer a better price and quality, we usually end up paying more and getting less. Contract splintering. Big projects need big money and higher level approvals. But if the contract is cut up into smaller ones, it won't need external approval from offices like the Public Procurement Commission or Cabinet. This makes it easier for contracts to avoid additional scrutiny. Timing of advertisements. Contracts advertised during distracting periods like the holidays can result in less competition and a really strong advantage for the favored company. Like Christmas time, work slows down and companies are less attentive to business opportunities. Emergency contracting. Claiming emergencies allows officials to legally bypass normal procurement rules, making it easier to award contracts to favored companies. Contract timing. Contracts awarded just before or after election can be payback for campaign support and not based on what Jamaicans really need. Collusion. And what if penalties are not enforced when work is poorly done? This could be a contractor and public official working together for private benefit. And if it is, this is collusion. These flags do not prove corruption, but they trigger questions that citizens must ask. So mind your business, Jamaica. Visit the JAMP procurement tracker to monitor government contracts. If you spot these flags, use our ATI tool to ask questions and demand accountability.
Cook it up and make we steam it. Fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Cook it up and make we roast it. Farm fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Grow smart at the best part. Food for thought so me have to eat smart. Easy catch, fully net. A tilapia so you don't know what's next. Cook it up and make we fry it. Fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Bring home the best in freshwater fish. High content of vitamin B3, protein and potassium. Tilapia, simple, healthy, delicious.
Na 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 na. We want a piece for Jamaica. Yeah, yeah. We have to be our brother's keeper. Yeah, yeah. Jamaica live good, yeah. I make we enjoy life. Want we feel safe at night. Jamaica live good. I better you and I. No say we future bright. Jamaica live good. Come together as one. I make the violence the world.
Yo, babes, why me I call you so much time and I not get you? Sorry, me lick you again yesterday. Yo, me know me mess up, but I can't wear them something there road and I expect me to react. I know me jealous and fool and easy to lose my temper, but call me back here.
Still not get tired.
Hey, girl, think me have to call your phone? You know who you are deal with? You think I want lick me again next time? Eh?
It doesn't have to be this way. You can leave an abusive relationship. Just call 876-553-0372. We will help you.
Hey, just a reminder, your mental health is just as important as your physical health. If you're feeling overwhelmed, try talking to a trusted friend or family member. You don't have to go through it alone. Sometimes sharing your feelings can make a big difference. If you need more support, don't hesitate to reach out to the Health and Wellness Ministry's Suicide Prevention Helpline at 888 New Life. That's 888-639-5433. Remember, it's okay to ask for help. Your feelings matter, and there are people ready to listen. Take care of yourself. You deserve it.
I wonder who that somebody be. No, sir. Let me look for my glasses. Oh, how does somebody look like right up? It's Lottie walk on. Me glad for see you, right? Although things never go on for you, America, me glad say you there.
Yes.
Lift your head high.
Yes.
Stay out of trouble.
Yes.
And you can have a fresh start back home.
All right, Mr. P. Thanks, you hear?
Let's all work together for a fresh start back home.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Today, we can report 2 consecutive years of reduction in major crimes and murders, with a significant reduction of almost 20% in murders for 2024.
Between January 2022 and January 2025, we have reduced murders by 51%, and January 2025 had the lowest monthly murder count since September 2014.
Our efforts have also resulted in the reduction of active gangs by 50%. We continue to increase firearm seizures, and in more communities, we are experiencing less violence. We will realize our vision of Jamaica as the place of choice to live, work, do business, raise families, and retire in peace and prosperity.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
yourself a fighting chance. Wear an approved helmet. A message from the Road Safety Unit in the Ministry of Transport and Mining.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you.
A new story is being written for all Jamaicans. The Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation is on a mission to transform lives. From increasing access to potable water, to providing secure homes for the most vulnerable, and helping you own a piece of the rock. We're revitalizing communities and preserving our environment. We're making an impact. See the difference. Feel the difference. Building a better Jamaica for you and me.
You can feel it. Make JC.
Peace begins with us. Every act of kindness, every step towards understanding brings us closer to a brighter tomorrow. Let's choose unity, compassion, and hope. Together, we can build a future where peace reigns.
Brighter tomorrow starting today.
Pray. Heavenly Father, as we gather here today, I want to give you thanks and praise for taking us here safely. As we meet in the house to discuss the people's business, let us do so to your glory. Let us do so to the betterment of our people and our nation. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right, let me welcome the members to the first meeting of the House Committee, which is one of the select committees of Parliament. One of the things that the government, by virtue of the Prime Minister, has mandated is that all our select committees should have regular meetings. The House Committee is not a committee that traditionally has met regularly. They have convened themselves when there are specific matters to treat with the House. And that has happened sparingly over the last few decades. Nonetheless, I think the area that the House Committee is charged to look at is an area that requires a certain level of consistent engagement around, and I think that members have an opportunity to help shape and define how the Parliament operates and feels for those of us who sit in Parliament. So just to remind members, Standing Order 71 treats with the House Committee and indicates that the House Committee shall have the duty of considering and advising the Speaker on all matters connected with the comfort and convenience of members of the House, and from time to time reporting to the House its minutes of proceedings. The minister in charge of arranging the business of the House shall be a member and the chairman of the House Committee. So in essence, we are supposed to examine matters that touch and concern the comfort and convenience of this House. And I know from time to time, members who have sat in this House across multiple terms have raised significant concerns, have made suggestions as to things that could be done, should be done to enhance the convenience and comfort of the members. Just to put things in perspective, the last time the House Committee met was in 2020, and at that time it was to look at issues regarding COVID-19 and how the House would convene itself in light of the strictures, the sort of requirements for social distancing that COVID-19 had brought upon us. And as such, they had extensive deliberations as to the concept of whether the House could meet virtually and how would that be actioned, and also what would be needed to be done to the chamber to ensure that if people are together in the chamber, they would not be putting themselves at harm's way. And members who were around at the time would remember that the chamber underwent significant modification to ensure that the meetings could be held in the chambers and could be done so safely. So this is our first meeting, and it's really meant to look at procedural matters, to discuss with the committee what do you think is the best approach for us to take in arriving at what we think could help the comfort and convenience of the members. I don't know if members have early suggestions that they would want to put on the table for us to start a process of examination. But we thought it important to convene the meeting to look at how regularly we would meet and to work out our next steps. So I know Member Paulwell, who is the leader of opposition business and who has been in the House for a long time because of his good work, or his good work because of the people of East Kingston, may have some thoughts as to some of the things that we should really delve into over the life of this committee.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. I recall that when we were here last week, meeting on the Standing Orders Committee, the Speaker did say that there was a menu of issues affecting the Parliament itself that, well, I was looking forward to seeing that today and for us to agree on a process, because today's meeting is really procedural stuff. Yeah, but I think it's going to be important for us to get that menu, because you quite rightly said that this committee is to deal with the overall comfort and of not only the members of the Parliament, but for staff. And I think speaking on behalf of the members of parliament, we can note some improvements that have occurred in the parliament. It will be good to hear what is the government's views on the project for this decade. Perhaps we could get an update on that. But I think one of the primary roles is to ensure that our staff is taken care of, and their comfort is very important, having regard to the cramp in the space. And one of the major important decisions that we've taken came as a result of COVID, where we now facilitate online meetings. I still believe that there are a few committees that we need to facilitate as well. I see no reason why we can't have all the committees meeting online. What I do know is that those meetings tend to start on time when they're online, and we're able to be a lot more efficient in their conduct. So I would say that, and I would say that once we get a menu of items, we can arrange how we meet to deal with each.
Thank you, Member. And I'll take a couple of things from what you said. I think, one, to the last point that you raised, and it definitely goes to the convenience of the members of the House, is to ensure that all the committees have that option of meeting online. So we will look back at the overarching documents regarding our committees. I know oftentimes we need to move a motion for them to be able to meet virtually. So where that has not been done, I think we definitely can move on that, especially in our new sittings of Parliament. So we'll take that as one of the action items from this House Committee meeting, to review all the select committees and to ensure that the requisite motion has been moved to facilitate the meeting online, so that then the chairs along with the clerk can make that determination. The other thing is to get a report, and I'll say two reports, a report from the clerk of the House in relation to matters that touch and concern the convenience and comfort of not just the members but the staff who operate in the House. We did start to have some discussions, and I think if that is put into a sort of report form, then we could, see the ones that we can action and that we can probably advise the House that we want to see action on, and advise the Speaker. And then a report from the Speaker as well in relation to, as she had indicated, some of the areas that she believes that there needs to be a sort of urgent action to make it, again, more comfortable and more convenient for the members to do their job of representing the people of their constituencies. So I think we can have that as two separate reports that can come in by the time that we have our next meeting. Additionally, I would agree, I think across both sides we have appreciated that this current building cannot truly facilitate the sort of convenience, comfort, and representation that the members need to undertake, and is really constrained by just its space. And there has been a long-term vision of developing a new parliament, and I think it would make sense for us to sort of track the progress of that, because I think ultimately that is what will solve some of our issues in relation to the operations of the members of the House, or the ability of the members to operate efficiently in the House. I think the UDC is the entity that is tasked with that. So we could also reach out and write to the UDC for them to provide us with some update as to the development of the new parliament, and probably go into some of the various differences that it will have, so that we can interrogate and ensure that some of the things that we believe as members are critical for our proper functioning, that those things have been considered. So I will put those items as items that we can act upon. I see Member Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. Just to continue on the point you raised about us going forward, a couple of things. One, procedurally, while we meet to deal with problems, I think it would be useful if we also meet to prevent issues to develop into a problem, developing into a problem. So I want to humbly suggest that perhaps we want to consider meeting at least once every 6 months, just for updating purposes, because the remit of the committee, which is the comfort of its members, it involves maintenance. This is an ongoing exercise. All right. We have the PAAC that deals with appropriations for the year, but for all my years, I can never recall the PAAC ever dealing with anything have to deal with the Parliament so far as appropriation and maintaining its function. So I believe it's even a brief meeting for update and the plan that gives us the comfort and so forth. We could consider that. Secondly, the bigger issue of, you mentioned about the renovation of the building and the adequacy for committee meetings. Truth be told, Chairman, when I inquired when I got the notice about the minutes of the last meeting, which I shared with everybody on the email exchange, and I learned today that the last meeting of the committee was in 2020. That's 5-6 years ago. However, during that time, as Member Paul well indicated, quite a bit of welcomed improvements have been made to the facility, particularly downstairs, which I think none of us have any problem with, but welcome. But even that exercise of what was considered or being considered at the time, which is for the benefit of the members, should have at least engaged the House Committee to apprise. Personally speaking, I saw the things happening, but I never even know that they were what was being contemplated. So I think out of courtesy, while it's welcome that the House Committee who charged with that responsibility should be apprised. Thirdly, and I think most importantly, Chairman, the meetings of the committee. It is said that the committees cannot meet or could not meet because of space availability. But the truth of the matter, Chairman, I don't buy that argument, and I'll tell you why. I look at the weekly schedule of meetings in the House, sittings and committees, is the most sparse set of meetings of the House committees I've seen over the past 5-6 years. They don't meet, and the records are there to speak for itself. Compared to other periods in the same physical available space, the House committees were meeting far more frequently. As a member, I have difficulty getting meetings convened, and I hear that there's a problem with space. And when I check the agenda each week for the schedule of meetings, it doesn't pan out. So I invite you as chairman to just peruse the records. And the question, why is it that the committees, I fought like hell to get the Economy and Production Committee meet to deal with a motion that I had referred to it. And there are other committees, working committees, that sparsely meet. Is it then a staffing problem? Sometimes we are told that is the question, is the problem. What is it? Put all the issues on the table that is restricting, constricting the House from being fully operational. And its full operation is in great part by the committees of the House.
Thank you, Member. I think you've raised a number of matters. I'll start with the last one. Clearly, I'll look into it. Definitely since the start of this term, a number of our committees have been meeting and have been meeting regularly. And even when I look at the calendar before me for the month of March, almost every week there are multiple meetings of various committees. Sometimes what will happen is that people have scheduled a meeting and then that space is reserved, but maybe during the course of the week before the meeting falls through for whatever reason. So when you look at the schedule for that week, you do not see meetings happening, but they were scheduled prior to. So we will review that. But definitely from my check as leader of government business, basically all our select committees have had meetings, including the standing order committees, multiple meetings of the PAAC, Human Resources Committee. So I think our committees are doing a better job now, and we have to ensure that that continues. But in terms of evaluating what may be constraints, definitely, right? I think we can look to see what may be constraints. It ties into what we just said also about outside of space, even if space isn't the issue, sometimes traversing, sometimes membership which are out of town, I think definitely having the virtual option has served us well during COVID. I don't think we have to move away from it, right? I remember during COVID, almost all our committee meetings were held virtually, and it gave you the ability as a rural MP to be in this space, but still having that time to treat with those meetings. So I think that is important. I do believe, and what we can do, and I agree, that it would make sense for this committee to have a sort of general update of some of the plans for the space, right? Because remember, and the idea of this committee is an appreciation that Parliament is for the members, and as such, the members, as much as possible, can help in providing some direction and in providing some feedback on some of the plans. So I definitely believe each year, between the speaker, between the clerk, there will be some plan upgrades. And I think part of our job is also to advocate where necessary on the upgrades that are needed, because the speaker will tell you that there are certain things that need to get done, but we have to add voice to it. And I think that's an important role of this House Committee. But we definitely can have and should have space where maybe the clerk would update us on some of the plans going forward, right? And it helps. I know, for example, I think it was in the Standing Orders Committee, I remember the clerk would have been sharing that there's a plan upgrade for the website, right? Which is something that I think we all would support and want to see, right? Because it serves members and it serves those who interface with the Parliament. So we can definitely put that down. And I do agree in terms of the schedule. You have said once every 6 months. I had thought no more than once a quarter, right? Just to, and again, they don't have to be long meetings, right? But I do agree just to ensure that we are on top of the various matters, and that where there's follow-up on certain matters, that we will do that. I want to welcome Member Holness, right, who is one of our members of our committees and who serves as Speaker. One of the things that we had indicated is to hear from you, not now, but in our next meeting, some of the issues that are plaguing the Parliament that need urgent attention, so that this committee can take them up and see how we can help. And we also said from the clerk as well, because we do see our remit as not just members to mean representatives, but also members of staff of the House. What are some of the matters that are needed so that we can, again, whenever we are formulating our report to Parliament, we can include those things so that ultimately some of them, as Member Jackson kind of hinted at, to ultimately ensure that some of them get into the appropriations, get into the financing of the upgrades. And one of the things we also said, just to apprise the Speaker, is that we would have we'll ask for our next meeting to have a sort of update on the plans for the new Parliament, right? Because we think that that is also important in that regard. All right. Are there any? Yes.
Chair, may I just place on the table some items for discussion. Members may elect to decide if they wish to do so in our next meeting, yes or no. But for our next meeting, I would like to place on the table in terms of location temporarily, a letter was shared from National Land Agency where we're looking at a space just next door to us, and along with yourself and Minister of Finance, if we are so moved to make the effort to see if we can get that space. We're not functioning as well as we would want to with the limited space we have for staffing at the Parliament. We would also need to be able to consider coming out of, as you mentioned, the Standing Orders Committee meeting and issues we have identified before, support in terms of digitization and ultimately wider support with our transformation in terms of use of technology and particularly AI tools going forward. I would like to also put on the table the need for us to be looking at welfare of both staff here at the Parliament. We have a welfare budget, it's not sufficient, and the parliamentary members, Senate and House as well, and former members as well. What I realized in becoming Speaker, the Parliament's budget, I heard Jackson from outside, Member Jackson, the Parliament's budget has been cutting because the Parliament has not been using its budget in years gone by. So having gone through the process of doing some of our strategic sessions, I don't think former speakers would normally have engaged in going to the strategic session. And so we need to have a synergy where we appreciate that the role of the clerk and the team at the Parliament is actually supporting us and our legislative function. And so we have to give that support that they need to be able to get the job done. So issues of welfare here is going to need to be one of the things we look at in terms of our budget and ultimately the allocations we need in our appropriations budget for it. The staff in terms of salaries as well and being able to employ new people has been a challenge for us over the last couple of years. I note opposition leader commenting on our webpage, it has been a struggle getting the requisite staff employed to be able to do so, and it is not because the clerk and team had not had several interviews. Persons have accepted, but when they see the salary, they're not interested. So we have been going over the process over and over and over. We need to figure out a way, if it is not appreciated, the caliber of employees that the Parliament will need for its support and development generally, not just support and stand still. It is really improving what we consider to be the Houses of Parliament for the country of Jamaica. And if we are going to do that, it is necessary, Chair, that we are able to do more in terms of better compensation, all right? So security as well is another issue. We have had 2 incidents at the Parliament itself, and I remember once hearing a comment banded about removing security from parliamentarians. We may not have had an issue, but coming from India, it was actually raised as something that happened in another parliament where they felt they were so now comfortable, safe, and secure that they didn't need it. And yes, then realize that we're having a challenge. I don't know if House Committee can do anything in terms of some of the cyber issues that we're having. I do believe it is something that we need to look at, probably in a later meeting.
Well, thank you, Speaker. You give us a whole menu, so, which I appreciate. I'm going to take Member Paul, and then we're going to make some comments and wrap up.
Chairman, in light of that menu, I'm just wondering, because come Thursday of this week, a new budget is going to be tabled, and I would just like to inquire of the clerk if any of this has been put forward, and whether or not we should gear up for Standing Finance Committee when we will bat for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to members of the committee. So in response, we attempted to make facilitation in the budget for some of the plans. However, my understanding from the PFO is that the ceiling is capped. So whenever there was an attempt to request something that extends beyond the cap, the system would basically log him out or kick him out. So therefore, we were unable to go beyond, but coming out of our strategic meeting, these were certainly priority areas, but we are limited in terms of the system that we have to put these projects forward.
Yeah, well, I definitely believe outside of Standing Finance Committee, I genuinely believe that the House Committee is one of the avenues now that we can use, because not only would our reports go to Parliament, but clearly we would elevate them to Cabinet as a select committee. And as the leader of government business is a member of the Cabinet, has always been, then those matters can be raised directly, and especially where we have determined here that there are some urgent priorities. So I think one of the things we've started now, we know we're in a budget cycle, but I mean, there are other financial years to come. There are also always supplemental, always supplemental, and when people look at where people are not utilizing resources, clearly if we have things that we believe are important to get some of those resources, we can act upon it. So I think definitely some of the items that have been outlined are things that we have to look at. The additional space, hopefully at our next meeting we can ventilate a little bit more. Digitization and the use of technology. I think what would need to happen clearly, and this is where sometimes the committees are hampered, we definitely need a sort of suggestions of what are those technologies that are being utilized, sorry, that would serve us well. Definitely, I definitely want to put on the table, and I hope that the clerk and the staff can do some research work around what is now deployed in our court system, where the transcription is done through digitization. So our submissions are recorded and automatically transcribed to a computer. And literally, when you are consulting now in the court, in some of the courts that are equipped, what happens is not a reading, is a playback. So you actually hear what literally was said. And I think that would go a far way. And clearly technology is already here. Clearly the Ministry of Justice, having put it in, should be able to guide us as to the costs. And that is something that I think would help in a big way. And maybe not because in the court it doesn't replace, but it acts as another layer. So I think those are some of the things we can look at, and definitely the welfare of staff. So
in the courts, you do not require verbatim notes, and that's part of the challenge for Parliament. So we have, in fact, looked at systems like that used in the courts Trinidad and Tobago's parliament, when we visited, has done the conversion already. We have actually asked them as well to assist with training both court stenotypers here in Jamaica. We referred the information to the Ministry of Justice because we wanted to also benefit from the training, and we would not have had the number of persons in the parliament to facilitate them taking us on as a project. So any system that we are going to look at, one is cost, one is how it's working elsewhere, but we at the Parliament also need to come to terms with what we are going to accept going forward as our method and mechanism for documentation. So if we are going to use tapes and we are going to transcribe those tapes, is it that persons are still going to be required, based on our standing orders, to listen to the tapes and ensure that you have still written verbatim everything that is said? In some of the answers that I've looked at, even such of comments are heard and noted in it. Since I've been speaker, I thought a mic should have dropped from the ceiling, and I think some people would actually behave far better in Parliament because of the types of comments they make off mic. So one would want to be able to determine if all of that is going to be encompassed in what it is that we will record and document going forward. I share Madam Clark's view, the challenge of the ceiling, the challenge of us not being autonomous, and House Leader, the challenge of it being perceived that every other ministry, agency, and department of government works, but nobody seems to appreciate that the Parliament's work is not just here in the chamber on a Tuesday or on a Friday when we are in legislative mode. And until that is understood and the resources are given, we also, over time, need to have the House contemplate whether or not Parliament should be autonomous and be able to manage its own budget instead of being in a position that Ministry of Finance dictates that we cannot get the necessary funding needed to put the human resource in place, the physical infrastructural facility in place to be a reasonable Parliament. I'm not even at first world. The idea of the new Parliament and whether or not we are going there, I think it is important that some mechanism is had to canvass the entire House and determine if all members of this House really see the new Parliament as a priority and whether or not they want us to continue on the journey of figuring out where we're going to get the funding from for a new Parliament. Because if we are not all of one voice, it doesn't make sense that we go down the road. And if we all are of the view that it is a critical must-have based on the challenges that we're now having with legislation, with space for committee meetings, with the ability to even have conferences, trainings, the works, then it means that when we say, okay, can we take the Parliament in stages? Yeah. Can we just at Hero Circle build the house first, and then we move out to a car park, and then we move out to committee rooms? What are the options available to us? Because it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Speaker.
And I will share the legislation for Parliamentary Service Commission that we had drafted, passed in various other Commonwealth jurisdictions, so that at another meeting, the House Committee can take a look at it as well and see if that's somewhere we would like to go.
All right. So we are at any other business date for next meeting. Clearly, we have more than a menu of things now, and we will have to take them in stages, so we will determine the things that will become part of our agenda for the next meeting as we try to get through the menu of things that were raised today. I would suggest, I know March is, my thinking, as I had indicated, is for us to meet at least once a quarter, and So our next meeting could be in April. And I know we have some holidays, but just to, that's the final. Yes.
In light of some of the points raised by member Holness speaker about those menu of items, it maybe will be useful and efficient if you could ask that those be circulated for consideration at the next meeting in order to make it substantive, that other meeting.
Yes, absolutely. So remember, one of the things that we had said prior to was that we would ask the speaker for a sort of report that would be circulated. So all of the items that thankfully she came and gave us a little preview, but that would be put on, and the clerk would put something together so that we could look at.
No, I raise it now so that it will become a decision of this meeting
definitely.
For its prior circulation.
Definitely. So the thinking is the 28th of April, Tuesday the 28th of April at 12:30 instead of 1. And we have some takeaways, including the things that will be circulated prior to, and I'll leave it at that. Any other business? If not, could somebody, I thank the members. We had 90% of the membership, and it's a very robust meeting. We suggest why this committee is important. Somebody move for the adjournment. Mr. Morgan, seconded by Member Hines, and see you at our next meeting. Thank you.